Amen. God bless you. Thank you, Father, for leading us on this morning. We bless the Lord for the opportunity to come out and worship Him, and realizing that several of our members may be joining us online on Facebook, and we certainly welcome you via that medium, and bless the Lord for this day which has been mentioned. And Brother Ernest, we certainly pray for those who have been impacted by this coronavirus around our world. And we pray that there is a quick resolve and that God certainly would protect us. It was good to hear that song, He's My Protector. He's my protector. And it says, yeah, ain't no doubt in my mind that He was watching over me. And so we certainly want to use vigilance during this particular time, and we bless the Lord. The word came from our Dallas County Clay Jenkins and said that if you didn't have 500 or let more, you could meet. So we knew we wouldn't reach that threshold. So we're here. Amen. We're here. We want to continue as we have been over the last several months, going on over a year, our study through the book of Samuel. And today we are in 2 Samuel. 2 Samuel, the book of 2 Samuel, chapter 12, where we are to begin today. We had chapter 11 last week, chapter 12, 2 Samuel chapter 12. We want to gain our thought from verse 11 and a few following verses. 2 Samuel chapter 12, beginning with verse 11. In 2 Samuel chapter 12, beginning with verse 11, we find recorded these words. This is what the Lord says. Out of your own household, I am going to bring calamity on you. Before your very eyes, I will take your wives and give them to one who is close to you. And he will sleep with your wives in broad daylight. You did it in secret, but I will do this thing in broad daylight before all Israel. Then David said to Nathan, I have sinned against the Lord. In my 32 years of pastoring at Cornerstone, never has my son, my oldest son, given me sermon title suggestions. But after last week's sermon and looking forward to this week, he texted me and his siblings to offer a few suggestions. I want to share a few of the title suggestions that he provided me. Number 1, God don't like ugly. Number 2, only God can judge me. Sermon suggestion number 3, what's done in the dark. Sermon suggestion number 4, when it's time to pay the piper. Next sermon, Chris Jr. sent suggestion, oh, you thought you got away. Next sermon suggestion, when God turns you every which way but loose. Last suggestion, you're going to learn today. You're going to learn today. But as I look at it, and I appreciated them, as I looked at this text, I decided to talk for a few moments from the subject, the high price for low living. The high price for low living. Every now and then, before you make a move to do something, you need to consider what it's going to cost you. The Bible is clear, no one starts a building if they got good sense without considering the cost. And I think the same thing ought to be true. Before you make a move to do something, you ought to consider what that thing is going to cost you. Because as we've heard so many times, be careful how you do the crime if you're not willing to pay the time. It is advantageous for us to always remember that in life there is a high cost to pay when you live low. When you live low. We have been journeying through the book of 1st and 2nd Samuel. God has allowed David to become king over Israel. God had blessed him. As we saw last week, everything David touched turned to gold. God had blessed him tremendously. God had been mighty good to him. He had protected him. He had delivered him. And he had given him so much. And sometimes the challenge of having so much, as we saw last week's message, don't get the big head. Is there's a tendency for us to forget from whence we've come. There's a tendency for us to forget that it was God who has brought us thus far. We saw last week as David now is king over Israel. We saw that when the kings at springtime went to war, David felt, I'm too good for that. I'll leave that to somebody else. I'll leave that to somebody else. And as a result of being at home, we saw last week, instead of being on the battlefield, he saw a woman on top of a roof. David woke up one evening. And we pointed out last week, it's rather strange that the text does not say David woke up one morning. It doesn't say that David woke up one night. But David woke up one evening because he had been sleeping all day. And you gotta watch how you become idle, because as we've all heard growing up, an idle mind is the devil's workshop. An idle mind is the devil's workshop. If you don't have nothing constructive to do with your time, the devil will sure enough give you some things to do. He will give you some things to do. David sees this woman, this beautiful woman. He sends word, who is she? I gotta have her. Sleeps with her, get her pregnant. Unsurprised, a surprise to him. So what David does is David, in order to cover up his sin, in order to cover up his behavior, sends for Uriah from the battlefield to come in to sleep with your wife. 2 times he failed to get him to sleep with his wife. Because David thought in his mind, if I can get Uriah to sleep with his wife, I will give the impression that he got her pregnant. And after all, Uriah ain't got a whole bunch of money, so he can't pay for a DNA test. Yeah, he can't get a DNA test. When that doesn't work, David sets up to have Uriah killed, put on the front line, to have everybody withdraw so that he is out there by himself. Have him killed. When we close the story, David thinks that he is in a good position. David thinks that he is in a good position. Uriah is out of the picture. Bathsheba is his wife. They've had a son. And in this culture, a son was very significant and important. So I've done, David thought, pretty good. I ain't got to worry about Uriah. I'm good. I ain't got to worry about anything else. I'm good. I was able to take my sin. I was able to take my sin and sweep it under the carpet. I'm good. nobody can't say nothing to me because I'm good. And it goes on about a year that David is in this situation where he feels pretty good about himself because he has literally gotten away with murder. Literally gotten away with murder. Time has elapsed. David has been able to sleep good at night. And as we said last week, one of the ways you know that you are outside of God's will and treading on dangerous ground when you can do wrong by folk and still sleep good at night. David feels good. He's able to sleep good. He has closed his ears and put in earplugs so that he don't have to hear from God. I ain't got to hear what God has to say. And so, since God, through the normal means of talking to David, does not get through, God provides another alternative. He calls David's pastor, Nathan, chapter 12, verse 1. He calls David's pastor, chapter 12, verse 1. And the Lord sent Nathan to David because David's head is so hard and David is so stubborn. David is not hearing what God has to say to him one-on-one for the last year. And so the word comes to Nathan. And Nathan is wondering, how can I bring word to David about his sin? How can I bring word to David about his sin? He thinks, can't just tell him you done messed up because he may lose his life. Let me figure out a creative way. Nathan says, David, come on, let's go into your man cave. Let's have a little conversation. I want to tell you a story. I want to tell you a story, David. I want to tell you a story. There was, chapter 12, verse 1, two men that lived at a certain time. One was rich and the other was poor. David, in this town, you had the haves and the have-nots. And the rich man was very rich. Notice, the rich man, according to the text, chapter 12, verse 2, had a very large number of sheep and cattle. He was blessed. But the poor man that didn't have much, he had nothing except a little ewe, female lamb. And he brought that lamb. Can you imagine? He was poor. How he had to save up in order to buy that lamb. He saved up. He probably had to put that lamb on layaway at Petco before he could afford to bring that lamb home because he was a poor man. No, he had nothing but one little lamb that he brought in. And he loved that lamb. He loved it. He raised it, the text says. It grew up with him and his children. It shared his food and drank from his cup. And it even slept in his arms. And that little lamb was just like a daughter to him. He loved. That was his baby. That was his prized possession. And the text says that one day, verse 4, a traveler came to the rich man. But the rich man says, I'm not going to use my stuff. I'm going to go and take one of the sheep. I'm not going to use my sheep or my cattle to prepare a meal. I will go instead and take that ewe lamb from that poor man, and I'm going to prepare that man some good lamb chop to impress him. I'm going to take from that poor man. David, as he's sitting there, he's talking to his pastor. His anger burned. He got mad. He got ticked off. I mean, how in the world would somebody be so low down? How in the world would somebody be so mean, so honorable, so hateful? In order to go into a poor man's house and take a lamb that he had to work hard and give him his time, a poor lamb that he loved and he cared for and raised up with him, and that lamb had been right there by his side when you didn't have to go back. You had plenty that you could have taken. When David heard that, David got mad. David was ticked off. You know what David says? David says, as surely as the Lord lives, the man who did this thing, notice, he must die. And not only he says, death ain't even good enough for him. Not only must he die, but verse 6, he must pay for that lamb 4 times over. Because he did such a thing and had no pity. Yes. You look at Leviticus chapter 20, verse 10. Leviticus chapter 20, verse 10. Says, if a man commits adultery with another man's wife, with the wife of his neighbor. And after all, as you remember last week, he was able to look just on the other side. Both the adulterer and the adulteress are to be put to death. Listen to chapter 24, verse 17 of Leviticus. Chapter 24, verse 17. Anyone who takes the life of a human being is to be put to death. Kill Uriah. Exodus chapter 22, verse 1. Exodus chapter 22, verse 1. Whoever steals an ox or a sheep and slaughters it, notice, or sells it must pay back 5 head of cattle for an ox and 4 sheep for a sheep. And when David hears that, David goes to the word. When David hears that, David goes to the word. When David hears that, David goes to the word, which means David in all of his sin knew the word. He knew the word. Yeah, he's mad. Why? Because he had no pity, no compassion, no concern for the plight of another person. He was mad, his temperature, his blood pressure. Nathan looked at David and says, you know what, David? You are the man. Isn't it amazing how we can always see clearly the sins in somebody else's life, but you can't see the mess in your own life? Isn't it amazing how it is easy for us to point out the faults in somebody else instead of dealing with your own fault? I'm always amazed how folk talk about other folks' children and how bad they are when your children bad as hell. Isn't it amazing that folk that always talk about other folk need to go see Jenny Craig themselves? Isn't it amazing that folk that always putting down other folk appearance, they need to go and buy themselves some dark and lovely? And it is so easy to bring out the fault of somebody else as if you ain't got yours and yours don't stink. You know what I discovered? That's the best cure for being judgmental of other folks. You know what I discovered? The moment what you need to do, the moment you're about to judge, to talk about, to put somebody else down, to find somebody else fault with somebody else, you know how you can get around all that? Go in the bathroom and look in the mirror. And when you look in the mirror, you'll discover you ain't got no room to talk. Because what will be steering back at you is somebody that needs a whole lot of work. What will be stirring back at you is somebody that ain't all there. What will be stirring back of you is somebody that is jacked up, messed up, tore up from the floor up. It's just because you was able to cover yours, don't make yours so better. She had children out of wedlock. Every time you turn around, she's pregnant by somebody different, got a different dad. But you aborted your own. What makes it any better? They always sneaking around. But just because you may cover yours up, don't make you no better. Every time you look at them, they got a 40 ounce. Just because yours is 16 ounces, don't make it no better. You, the man. And let me just tell you, just in case you don't know anything about construction. Let me tell you something. If you live in a glass house, don't throw no stuff. Let me tell you something that'll help you in housekeeping. Sweep around your own front. Before you try to sweep around. David, you the man. That low down, dirty, nasty rascal, that's you. That folk that ain't got no compassion, no heart, you ain't got to worry about some folk having a heart attack because they ain't got no heart. That's you. So Dave, this is what God's got to tell you. Since you can't hear from him, let me tell you what he got to tell you. The Lord says to you, David, notice, I was the one that you king over Israel. I was the one, and I want you to realize, David, when I anointed you the king over Israel, it wasn't because you were so tall. It wasn't because you were so handsome. It wasn't because you had some money. It wasn't because you were first in line. You remember, I went through all of your brothers, and I picked you out when you was out there in the sheep field. And you know what's out there with the sheep field? A bunch of sheep. And you know what sheep do? They put out. I took you out of song to get you where you are. Not only that, David, not only did I take you and I anointed you king over Israel, but notice, you know, when you were told to be king over Israel, Saul wanted to take you out. He took out hits on you. He threw spears at you. And you still here today. And you know why you here today. It ain't because you so good. I was the one that delivered you. Yes, I fought your battles for. Oh yes, David, you forgot. It was me that kept you through many dangers. Claws and snares. Notice verse 8, not only did I do that for you, verse 8, I gave you your master's house. To you, and notice, I gave you your master's wife. You had women. And after all, how many women do you need? I gave you, notice what he says, I gave you all. I gave you all of Israel. I gave you proud possession. I gave you all of Israel and Judah. You know what, David? If that was too little, I would have given you more. If that wasn't enough for you, all you had to do, because if I did that, I could do more. Yes. Why? Why did you disgrace my name? Why did you disgrace the word of the God, by God, the Lord, by doing what was evil? Because see, I know what you did. You struck down Uriah the Hittite. Swore you took his wife to be your own. David, I know what you did. You killed him with the sword. So you know what, David, I'm going to tell you. You're going to have to face the consequences. Because, David, I want you to understand there's a high price for below living. Yeah, the sword will never depart from your life, from your house, because you despise me. You made me look bad. You made me look like a fool. You made me look like a dummy. After all I did for you, and this is the way you repay me? My name is on the line. Yes. And you talk about a man that does that need to pay 4 times. Man that takes a man that took that man's lamb on to pay 4 times. A man that did that needs to pay 4 times. I'm going to show you that. Notice verse 18. On the 7th day, the child died. Death number 1 of his son. Chapter 13, verse 28. Absalom, his son, ordered his men, listen to Amnon, who is high in spirit from drinking. Amnon was his other son from drinking. And when I say to you, strike him dead, you ought to strike Amnon down and kill him. And do not be afraid. way. One son kills another son. Two sons dead. Chapter 18. Chapter 18, verse 14. Joab said, I'm not going to wait. Let me go back to verse 9. Absalom was one of the other sons of David, and verse 9 says, Absalom happened to meet David's men, and he was riding a mule, and the mule went under the fig tree of an oak, and Absalom's hair, the son of David, got caught in the tree, and he was left hanging mid-air while the mule kept riding along. Verse 14, Joab said, I'm not going to wait like this for you. So he took 3 javelins in his hand and plunged them into Absalom's heart. While Absalom was still alive on the oak tree. Death number 3. 2 Kings chapter 2 verse 25. 1 Kings chapter 2 verse 25. So Solomon gave order, the son of David gave orders to Benaiah, son of Joiada. And notice he struck down Adonijah, one of his other sons. 4 sons dead. Because there's a high price for low consequences. Remember one time a mother was spanking her child. The child says, I'm going to call the police. The mother said, go ahead and call them. You know the response time of the police in our neighborhood. And if you can stand me beating you till they get here, you go right ahead and call them. The price we pay for the decisions that we make. Verse 11, this is what the Lord says. Out of your own household, out of your own household, I'm going to bring calamity on you. Before your very eyes, I will take your wives, and I will give them to one who is close to you, and he will sleep with your wives in broad daylight. Listen to chapter 16, verse 22. Listen to chapter 16, verse 22. Aphiliel answered, said to one of David's sons, Absalom, sleep with your father's concubine, whom he left to take care of the palace. Then all Israel will hear that you have made yourself obnoxious to your father, and the hands of everyone, notice, everyone with you will be more resolute. So they pitched a tent. They pitched a tent. They pitched a tent on the roof. Where did David see Bathsheba? Things may come back to bite you in your butt. He pitched a tent. They pitched a tent for him. And he slept with his father's concubine. And they posted it on Facebook. For everybody to see. And broad day. Oh. Where it all began. Listen. And you know why God is going to make you pay this? And you know why God is going to put you on blast like this? It's because verse 12, you did yours in secret. But notice, I will do it in broad day. Why? Because see, I want everybody to know, homie don't play. You see, what message would it be that I took you from a nobody with nothing, and I elevated you king over Israel, and the thanks I get is a smack in my face that you would have the nerve to go out there and don't think folks don't know, don't think folks don't know, don't think folks don't know, don't you think folks don't know? You thought you was tipping, but everybody saw you. When you sent the fellas to see who she was, they knew what you were doing. When she sent message, they saw the woman got nosy. She opened up the envelope for the pregnancy test. If I let you get away with it, if I let you get away with it, guess what, David? Everybody in Israel. You know what? I have a statement. Sometimes you need to learn from other folks' tuition. Sometimes you just ought to look at other folks. Told you a story a couple of years ago. A lady came to the church. Could tell she was on something. She asked for some money. We ain't giving no money. Her response was, "This is supposed to be a church." I said, "Yes, ma'am, it is a church. If you want to go to the bank, chase us down the street." So she dropped the pants. Oh, Lord! Rubbed them against the front door. And you know when I walked away and said, whatever she on, I know not to try that. You ought to look at some folks. You ought to look at some folks. You ought to look at some folks. You ought to look at some folks and say, look, if that's sort of where I'm going to end up, I know I ain't going to go there. Some of y'all ought not drink because you see how the uncle and them act at the family reunion. You ought to learn from other folks' tuition. You ain't got to go there. You ain't got to experience something. Just look at some folks. I ain't going to do that. I ain't going to do that. You did it in secret. And if I let you get away with it, then, and the reason why I gotta put you on blast now, because see, just like sin, when folk get a hold of it, it starts spreading. You can't keep it. You see, you know what some of us would have said? She ain't had no business. On the roof. We would have got like Adam. Well, after all, it's the woman. See, we could have, God, after all, you gave me the sex drive, and if I ran up into the wrong garage, it ain't my fault. Yeah. And you know why David is known as a man after God's own heart? It wasn't because he never messed up. It was because when he messed up, he got it right. It was because when he was confronted with his sin, he recognized the errors of his way. And all of us are in here have messed up. All of us in here have come short. All of us in here have said things that we shouldn't have said. All of us in here might not have done what David did, but we showed up. That's some stuff that we embarrassed by. And you ought to thank God. You ought to thank God. You ought to thank God that he ain't put your business on blast. Yeah. Because the good news is God allows for you to. Let me tell you what repentance is. 2 Corinthians chapter 7 verse 10. Godly sorrow, real sorrow. I ain't talking about this stuff when you say, oh, I'm sorry, and you know you don't mean it. You know how it is, you cuss your wife out, you cuss your husband out. I'm sorry. No, you're not. Because if you was really sorry, you would do it. Godly sorrow brings about repentance. 2 Corinthians 7 verse 10. And it leads to salvation and leaves no regret. Godly sorrow. When you are really, and you mean it from the depth of your heart, because repentance not only means you're sorry, but if you make the U-turn, you've changed direction. Yeah. I've seen. I have confessed. Nathan replied, the Lord has taken away your sin. Wow. God is going to forgive you. And you know what, David? Let me tell you the good news that you discovered. Psalm 103, verse 12. As far as the east is from the west, so he'll remove your sin. Never to bring up again. And you know what I like about God's forgiveness? It ain't like the forgiveness you get when you in an argument with your spouse. They forgive you till the next argument. Isaiah chapter 55 verse 7. Let the wicked forsake his way, and the unrighteous man his thoughts. Let him return to the Lord, that he might have compassion on him and our God, and he can be abundantly pardoned. 1 John 1:9. If you confess your sin, he is faithful and just to forgive you of your sin, and not only forgive you, but cleanse you from all 1 John chapter 2, verse 1. My dear children, I write to you that you sin not. But if you do sin, realize you got an advocate with the Father, Jesus Christ, the righteous. Proverbs chapter 28, verse 13. Whoever conceals sin does not prosper, but the one who confesses and renounces it, they're the ones that find mercy. Psalm 86, verse 5. You, Lord, are forgiving and good, abounding in love to all who call. I'm going to forgive you. I'm going to take your sin away. You said 4 times in death. I got good news for you. Verse 13. You're not going to die. But if you got your Bibles, you need to circle the first word in verse 14. But you ain't gonna die, baby. But because by doing this, you have shown utter contempt, no appreciation, making God to be the fool. Your son gonna die. And you know what? That's just gonna be the start. Your son, the next chapter, gonna end up raping his sister. And that's not gonna be the end of it. Your son gonna try to overthrow. And that's not gonna be the end of it. Problem